Hey, Kim.
Hey, I've tried to sign in twice and it timed me out.
It timed you out. Okay.
Is it a Google meeting?
No, it's actually you hit the link and it takes you to the StreamYard and you just sign in.
It says this event has a video call.
It's where you operate from, your computer or your phone?
My phone.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know a lot of people that use their phone. So, all right, let me try to see if I can talk you through it here.
Did you send an email? Did you copy me on the email by chance?
No, I didn't. I did not send it straight to Hope.
Okay. Because she put this in my calendar and it says, hang on. Are you live now?
No, I'm waiting. Just kind of waiting for you.
Okay. So it says Cruz Sherman Show.
Uh-huh.
And then there's StreamYard. Is that what it is?
Yep, that's it.
Do I go to YouTube or Facebook?
You go to it's telling
I
you
don't even know my login for this stuff.
that you shouldn't have to go to either one of those because what you're trying to do, you're logging in, so it's supposed to tell you, okay, check your mic, put your display name up. So let's go find the email. In fact, let me go.
It's asking me this browser can access your devices. I need it.
You. Oh, you need to go back out and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cruz Radio 102.8 TV live stream. We are glad to have you here tonight. I know that you had a great Thursday despite the storms, the rain, and the tropical storms and everything else we've had this week. It is now 8:06 here in the Cap City. I want to thank all of our sponsors for allowing us to be here, because without you, we would not be here. We have a very good topic for you tonight, and also an outstanding guest that's going to be with us. We have none other than from our own city council here in the city of Richmond, Miss Kimberly Gray, who is in the second district right now and running for mayor of the great city of Richmond. Kim, welcome to Cruz Inc. Radio live stream. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, aside from some camera adjustments. It's been a long, rainy day, but a beautiful day. So thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here. We know that you're out campaigning at this time, and you have a lot of other things going on. So we certainly appreciate your being here. We're going to jump. We got a litany of things that we're going to be talking about tonight. That again, because this is such an important position. It's not like this is the mayor's race. Actually, is going to be one of the most highly contested races here. So first, before we get in there, tell us a little bit about what you have been up to. I know that you spent 4 years on the city council and 8 years on the school board. So take us back to how you even got into politics.
So, well, if we take you way back, my dad was into politics. I grew up in the West End when it was the real West End, the West End of the city of Richmond, in Maymont, and I hung out in bars and as a 3 and 4 year old, and barbershops, and all the time, all day long, it was nothing but politics. He was a member of the West End Political Association. So it's kind of ingrained in me. I've always been politically engaged and involved. I worked for 2 governors, Warner and Kaine. I've been involved in public service and policy work for more than 25 years. So it's just part of who I am. It's in my DNA. I ran for school board out of frustration as a Richmond Public Schools parent and a single mom. I had 5 children at one point, just trying to get them in the best programs that they could qualify to be in. I had 5 children going to 4 different schools, and a lot of things fell through for us as a family. Transportation, there were always these stressors, and as a single parent and the sole breadwinner, it's quite frustrating for the easy things that weren't getting done, and those systems were so broken. So that's what motivated me to initially run for public office, and here we are 12 years later.
Wow. Kim, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on the screen just for a moment so the audience and viewers will know what we're going to be talking about tonight, a little bit of some of the things that we're going to be talking about COVID-19. Of course, that's going to be a hot topic, but we'll be talking about the meal taxes, real estate taxes, school system, Navy Hill, the riots and protesting, the business sector, public utilities, the monies that's been spent on the removal of the statues, the overtime for the police because of the protests and riots. Also, we're going to talk about the furloughs, delayed permits, and the free press. I promise everybody, we're going to get through all of that. I know, I know you guys are.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, but I think we can get it done. Though I absolutely think that we'll be able to get through all of that. So let's talk about you're on the city council now. Been there 4 years. Why the mayoral race?
So I ran for city council initially. My education, so I wanted to make sure that the resources for schools were being allocated and going in the right direction. So I ran for city council because city council controls the budget. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold rules. It was not too long after that I realized I was bombarded with a lot of constituent calls that were very critical, impacting people's daily lives. And trying to get resolution for my folks was like beating your head against the wall. There's so much brokenness in City Hall. I uncovered a lot of corruption, cronyism, and serious issues with the culture and the approach that we have. Now, don't get me wrong, we have excellent city workers, and we have some who just give 150% every day. But there is that small element that break morale and make it hard for everyone. And I represent a very diverse district, so from dealing with people not getting Medicaid or food stamps, those are very impactful. It's healthcare that people don't have access to when they can't afford to pay out of pocket. So permits and inspections, there's all these issues. And trying to work with the mayor, we were all really excited to have a young new mayor, a new LeVar from the Warner administration when he was a governor's fellow. But I just don't think that he was up for all of the challenges within City Hall, and we've seen the result of that when we're entering in unprepared and not willing to put the right people around you that are willing to tell you the truth. So I decided to make the run.
That's vitally important because Michael Jordan, as great as he was, couldn't win any championships until he started including the other players and got everybody together on this. And you made that point of you have to surround yourself with the right people. Is that part of what you say? This is January 1. And is that the first thing you do, or you do that before January 1, finding the right people for your administration?
So those are conversations that are going on now. We're in it to win it, finding the right people to help with the transition, and then the governance side. Campaigning is totally opposite from the governance side. Apolitical when it comes to giving services to people and meeting their needs every day. You have to get the most qualified people who are willing to put the time in and the effort. So, and getting good leadership in place. It starts at the top and it filters down. If you have poor leadership, the organization tends to fail on many levels.
Kim, let's go back to January leading into March. We know that things change for the United States. And let's drill down into Richmond here. How has, in your opinion, the current administration handled COVID, and how would you have handled some things differently?
So I think that this is all new to everyone, so I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to our local government, our local systems. But I do think there were several failures in the communication of what the plans are. For instance, we as a city requested not to move into the phase where the restaurants could open, but restaurants were told by the state that we were entering into phase 2 and that they would be able to begin opening their operations and not just do curbside and delivery services. So a lot of our restaurants who have already been hurting went out and purchased food for those expected customers that they would see. And within less than 24 hours, our mayor made a request to keep us in phase 1 and not allow them to open. So it was really devastating to businesses to have to throw away food, and they brought employees back who had been on unemployment, and they couldn't, set that back. And for 2 weeks, that was the case. They brought in additional staff leading up to that to deep clean the kitchens and the restaurants. So that was a devastating decision. I think that we need to think more broadly when we're making these decisions, because we put our businesses in the city at a serious disadvantage to our counterparts in the county. Every other locality in the region sent a letter and said, we're not on board with Richmond, don't include us. And that sends a very bad message. And it also, if you're a business owner, you're already overburdened. You're paying more in taxes than our localities, and then to have that additional blow. So that's just one example of poor communication, poor planning. This data was available in advance and should have been, that decisioning should have been done with enough time for people to make their plans and not expend dollars that they then had to throw away.
Now, normally there's a collaborative effort between, city officials, especially the mayor and the city council. Was there, in this particular case, a collaboration? And if not, do you think perhaps having a collaboration would have eased some of the pitfalls that you just referred to?
I think collaboration and communication are key. We haven't gotten updates in real time on the budget. We know that we're going to see some serious shortfalls, not just because of COVID-19, but now we have a lot of our retail and restaurant establishments boarded up because of the civil unrest that's been occurring. So we are in the blind as city council. There's no current information on where we are. When we entered into the budget cycle and the budget was adopted, we were already in the COVID-19 status, and the projections that we were given were not realistic. They were not in line with our counterparts in the county as far as shortfalls. The budget that we're working from only projected a 10% decline in our meals taxes, our lodging taxes, and our admissions taxes. And as you know, admissions taxes are concerts and venues. We're moving out of the summer months and into the fall, and we haven't had the ability to have any gatherings of to speak of
Right.
because of COVID-19. So those admissions taxes are pretty much not coming in, and very, very fractionally. Meals taxes are starting to pick up, and lodging taxes again are bottomed out. So these are shortfalls that are going to have to be made up in the budget, and it's important to communicate what's happening, not blow through reserves that took 3 decades to build up, almost as long as our mayor's been alive.
And even though the meals tax is something that we were going to talk about, I don't think people realize that we have a significant amount of our revenue that comes from our meal taxes. And you just indicated we got a kind of a dilemma here because of the restaurants that are closing within the city. Where do we try to, in terms of the meal tax, what do we make up for that, Kim?
So I'm all about schools and school facilities. So let's just be clear. The mayor put out an increased meals tax to pay for 5 new schools. Because of the careless spending, we ended up with 3 schools that will be coming online, and those schools were to be paid for from the increased meals tax revenues to the tune of $9.5 million. And just to put in perspective, our budget is smaller than Henrico County, but their portion of their budget, that's meals taxes, is $21 million. Before all of the COVID-19 and other economic downturns, our portion of the budget projected for this year was $48 million. So it's a significant amount of money that we are not going to be receiving from those meals taxes, and they have to be made up somewhere. Those debt payments have to be made. They're tied to meals taxes, but if those meals taxes don't surface, we've got to pay it out of our general fund. So there are going to be some hard choices ahead of us. We've got to get our budget in line and make some tough decisions. And there's so many needs that are unmet going into this. So it's got to be collaborative. It's got to be communication that flows not just one way, but 2 ways. And that's the only way to get people behind a vision.
Now, we coupled with COVID, we had then, of course, the um, tragic death of George Floyd, of course, that sparked outrage across the country and around the globe, and it has had some significant impact here in the city of Richmond. Now, we're not talking about the peaceful protesters. We're talking about those that riot. Where did the current administration, in your opinion, go wrong in terms of handling the riots? Because a lot of businesses were destroyed, a lot of restaurants and other businesses are disappointed at how things are going. And quite frankly, it's been rumored that a lot of people will not be rebuilding downtown, especially within the city limits. What happened, Kim? In
So
your opinion?
I think that it's really important, and I've learned that people here sometimes there's a lot of anger and hurt and anguish going on. People hear the wrong things are not what we intend to say. So I want to be very clear when I talk about some of the incidences and the things that I have personally witnessed. I'm not talking about the masses of people who rightfully and peacefully are protesting. I stand in solidarity. I am heartbroken behind the senseless murder of George Floyd. And as a mom, to hear him call out for his deceased mother has called all moms to action. So, but with saying that, the very first night that these protests took place, there were people who showed up with Molotov cocktails. There were people who showed up with tire irons and bricks and bottles filled with urine to throw at law enforcement. Wow. They were tearing into buildings, breaking glass, burning buses. And I was out on the streets. I experienced the CS gas several nights in a row. The gunfire, the laser pointers that we assumed they were guns, gun sights. And someone pushed me into a doorway because I had a green dot on my chest. So wow, it's pretty scary. Cars set on fire. What I noticed the second day, the morning after that first night, as I walked through my Jackson Ward neighborhood, was a lot of our Black-owned businesses have been vandalized and damaged. And to me, movements that I can support are movements that move us forward. And to set back Black-owned businesses in a Black neighborhood, and I stand clear. I do not think it's ever acceptable. I saw lots of cars of working people. They were not brand new cars. They were, older Cadillacs and other vehicles smashed to pieces. A lot of working people, homes spray painted. We had Section 8 housing where gentrifier was painted on the side of the houses. And quite frankly, the people who were doing this were by far young white kids who had parked in my neighborhood driving very expensive late model cars, and they'd unload their backpacks and set fires to our super cans and sofas in the neighborhood. I mean, literally my adult daughters and I ran around with garden hoses and the first nights we didn't have fire extinguishers. We now went out and purchased them, but we had buckets of water putting out these fires. So it's unacceptable on every level. And I can't get behind any movement that does that, especially to Black-owned businesses and Black communities.
And Kim, I'm gonna drill down just a little bit because I know that people want to know, and I've heard this in the streets because I'm out there and I'm listening. People would ask you, okay, we know what happened, but say you're mayor now. What would you have done to prevent all of the havoc that homes and residents and businesses experience? What would you have done as mayor?
Well, some of it, I think there's a rage that's taking place nationwide, and I can't say that 100% of this would have been avoided. But to have no arrest those few nights when I watched the bus driver forced off that bus and terrorized, and no help came. There were direct orders that when I was trying to put out fires, and I had people with me when I'm calling 911, and they said, we're going to let that burn. I live in a very old and historic neighborhood. The houses are attached. I begged, I called the fire chief. He said, we can't come in to do anything until the police clear us to come in. So a lot of these buildings burned for extended periods of time, 35, 40 minutes before any responses happened. I think that I would have, number one, called sooner for those regional partners to come in, the mutual aid agreements that we have with Hanover, Henrico, and Chesterfield, and the state police. I would have called in the National Guard. When that extent of damage is happening, it was ugly very early on. So there were indicators that this was going to spin out of control. In front of the police headquarters, there was an attempt to rush the building. There was a lot of vandalism happening. People were in the faces of those police officers, and then a police cruiser was set on fire. And so there were very early indications. And I think that sometimes, as a mom, if behaviors are corrected early and with more deliberation and determination, you can prevent things from happening later. So I don't think that the response early on met the amount of destruction and damage I was seeing out on the street.
So let's make it clear, Kim. The order to stand down basically comes from the mayor's office. Is that correct or incorrect?
So it appears that way. I don't have any proof of that. I've heard from officers on the street. I've heard from some of the leadership within the respective police departments that is, in fact, what has been done. There's been a stand down order to allow this lawlessness to continue. So I tend to believe it because that's what I'm seeing happen. There's no response. When I talked to the newest police chief, he said, well, they're looking for attention and they're looking for an opportunity to record something that they can post and say that we're being bad to them. And but if we go by that logic, if I want to rob a bank, do I get away with that because someone might record the police pouncing on me while I'm walking out with the bags of money? We're just going to let them walk away because we don't want someone to possibly record a negative interaction. It's crazy to me because we all deserve to have safety and security and that sanctity in our homes. And it's pulled so many resources away from the communities who struggle all the time with shootings and other public safety issues. And unfortunately, we've had many more this week in our East End area and public housing and on the South Side. So I think it's important. We know we have limited resources and we don't have a lot of time to dedicate to foolishness.
So let's, for those that may not be familiar with how our city government works, I want to draw a line of demarcation here. The city chief, police chief, and the fire chief report to who? Who is the mayor? Okay. So if there's going to be any orders to come down, it would generally come from the mayor's office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Just wanted to draw these lines here because it's the reason this is all going to be important. People will have to weigh again on what has transpired and what you as the potential mayor will do. Again, we're in uncharted waters, and we understand that, but you got to be able to, in my opinion, draw a clear line and said, okay, we had some failures. How do we make sure that these failures don't happen again? Hopefully we'll never go through this, but do we have a realistic plan? Now, again, we couple all this together, Kim. We got COVID, we got the riots, and now we have a huge fallout again with all the damage that has been done. We have a lot of businesses that are closed. And you talked about we're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to budget. You couple that with $2 million in overtime for the police department.
Well, that was a few weeks ago.
Okay, and also, I'm sorry.
We're much higher than that now. Every day, it's running as a continuous tab.
And then we add $2 million more for the removal of the statues. Mm-hmm. So where's all this money going to come from? Who eventually pays for all of the overtime? Who pays for the removal of the statues? And we're already operating at a deficit.
So the model right now is that you and I pay for that, and all the other taxpayers in the city are paying for all of these things. I'd like to see City Council take a more creative approach to the removal of monuments and auction them. Go through one of the Sotheby's or one of the auction houses and auction these off, because every dollar that goes to removal of monuments and police overtime is a dollar that cannot be used to repair infrastructure or provide for our students who are going to be in the most challenging educational setting that we've ever seen in our modern times. So we have limited resources. I think we should sell or auction off the monuments and use that revenue and put it back into the budget.
Now, it has been said, we all know about the Navy Hill controversy. Mm-hmm. What was your understanding of the Navy Hill project, and how did you side with that in terms of whether we go forward with that or we kill that, in particular, especially the Coliseum?
So that was an 1,100-page proposal that was a lot to take in. And this is the thing, none of us are experts on everything. We like to think we're a jack of all trades, but my approach has always been, from the time I came on the school board, is to find people who are a lot smarter than I am and accounting and legal documents and those things. So my approach was to formulate a Navy Hill commission to review this proposal and to come back with recommendations, because as council people, we don't always have all the answers. As mm-hmm. mayor, you don't always have the answers. You surround yourself with the best and the brightest. And that's what the Navy Hill Commission was. And the recommendations that they had were that it just wasn't a good deal for us as taxpayers. It might have been for some of the investors, but we tend to get the short end of the stick. We're still rolling on debt from the 6th Street Marketplace and ventures that people, the builders, the developers, and folks come in and build this stuff. They are still eating off of those projects. Just know they got paid, right. But we are still paying for it. So we've got to be very careful. I want to point out that I'm 100% for development and fostering retail and commercial and other affordable housing projects, mixed income housing, and growing our economy. But when it falls on the backs of our Richmond taxpayers, that's where we have to draw the line. And I didn't see a sufficient return on investment with the proposal as written. I asked for more time to make adjustments in that proposal, and I was told no, that we had to vote by a date certain and that it was all or nothing. And if it's all or nothing, I had to say no.
No, and let me make this perfectly clear here. These are just sources that has been said. If Mayor Sony is reelected, then that Navy Hill project comes back to the forefront again. Have you heard that?
Well, there are incarnations. There's a proposal right now for a portion of that deal. It's a portion that made sense to me to build a new hospital tower that will be a revenue generator for the city. I I take issue with how we um, give up our value and our land for little or nothing. And I think that we need to really evaluate and get full on appraisals. The mayor did that with the public safety building, but the administration and the mayor are not sharing that appraisal with city council. So it's really difficult and it's insulting to be told we're not going to tell you everything, we're not going to show you everything, just sign the dotted line and rubber stamp this deal. And I think that those days, if they haven't learned that, are over. I don't I don't I expect to win, so that's kind of a moot point. But I'm open to proposals and growing our downtown, making it as beautiful and as bright as it can be, but in an inclusive way that supports our local businesses, our minority and women-owned businesses, and allows for mixed income housing and moves us forward.
We've seen other downtown areas like, of course, Memphis and Charlotte do some amazing things, but it seems that, we make one debacle after another. And I'm going and talking about the Redskins training camp, where they call themselves the Washington team now. That building, for the most part, is sitting idle, and there's rumor that they may not be using it again. Again, here's more tax money that went into that. It's going to be a building that they're charging somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,400-$1,500 to even lease out. How many more debacles does the citizens of Richmond have to pay for? Because again, being a resident, having to pay taxes, and while we're talking about taxes, there's also the city assessor, if I'm not mistaken, is saying that he's going to raise our property taxes. Is also what sources are telling me. How do you continue to bleed people, and where do you, Kim, say, okay, enough is enough, once you're mayor?
So we've got to get our budget in check. It's very simple. Anybody who has a household budget, it's the same thing for municipalities. There's two sides to that equation. There's the income side and there's the expenditure side. So if we're not bringing in more income, then we have to cut our spending. And we haven't made enough efforts on the cutting side to before we would even contemplate or should contemplate going into reserves or asking for higher taxes. We have to cut the fat out of the budget, and we have to work through, and we have to foster development. We've got projects right now, beautiful projects that could have been on the tax rolls months ago, that have been in the hopper waiting for permits and inspections to get their paperwork pushed through. It is we are about to lose some very lucrative projects and deals for the city because of the inequity and the irresponsibility within the city. It depends on who you are and who you're connected to, whether your stuff gets done in a fast way. And the waits are incredibly long. We've got an affordable housing project on the south side in Port City. They've been waiting for months to get. their permits approved to get started on that second phase. And, that's something that people always say they're for, but when you have a project in front of you and your city departments are preventing it from moving forward, that's a problem. And that's revenue lost.
Mhm. Now, that department has been operating subpar for a long time. Is that one of the things that, as under your administration, that you go in and say, okay, with the permits and the delays because it's costing us money, we need to restructure, or we really need to look at this and see how they can operate more efficiently so we don't have a backlog of permits and we don't continue to lose the revenue from these projects and future projects?
Absolutely. And a lot of, they say, oh, we've automated and we've moved things to online. I'm happy that we're moving in that direction. But if it takes 6 weeks to get a login to be able to upload a document, and if you get one thing wrong, you get put back in the back of the line. There's some problems with the workflow and the inefficiencies within that department, as well as many others. It's a frustrating thing. I think frontline employees, they take a beating. I want to empower a person on the front line to be able to follow through on a task and help a person and walk them through. What tends to happen is there are 5 different departments involved in one. You go to get a business permit and you get sent on this incredible scavenger hunt throughout City Hall.
Wow.
In between, you're having to move your car, then you may have to come back the next day because that person's gone home. And, it's a very frustrating task to even do the simplest thing, something that you can get within a half an hour or hour-long period, and our county counterparts may take several days in the city. On top of that, you might even get a parking ticket in the process. So we've got to fix a lot of these things.
Yeah, because I've talked to 2 major developers, and both of them had indicated that under the current administration that they would not even build a doghouse in this city anymore. And we're talking about, again, lost revenue, which is vitally important, and the cronyism that is involved in what's going on right now. And bottom line, Kim, the people of Richmond are suffering as people play politics. What would you do, and how are you going to remove politics from all of the different departments and make sure that this city is moving and it's moving forward?
Well, there are clear indicators that things are working and moving in the right direction. If you can't measure it, it's hard to gauge. So we have to put those measurables in place and make sure that things are happening in a timely manner. I tend to have to, this is sad as a city council person, but I have to go to the state when I get a call from someone whose food stamps didn't get issued, or, try calling social services about a food stamp case or a Medicaid case where the person can't get physical therapy or the help they need because their Medicaid expired or they moved in from another locality or another state. So there are so many indicators out there, and it doesn't take rocket science to figure out what's going on. So just got to get the right people in the right place, and we need to empower them to serve and to open their hearts and open their minds and think critically and problem solve for our residents.
Yeah, we got about 15 more minutes here, and then you'll be off the hot seat. But again, these are crucial issues because as the mayor goes, so does the city, and we're seeing this right now. And recently, there was a decision made that because of the tropical storm that we had Monday, if I'm not mistaken, that's when it was, that the employees were given the day off and not allowed to use vacation time, but they were being paid. And also that there have been no furloughs at this time. You talked about right siding the budget. Is that something that you as mayor look at and say, okay, we're already operating at a deficit. Let's perhaps do some furloughs. That's an ugly word for a lot of people,
Well,
but yet we're have people sitting at home still getting paid.
I've asked for that. Honestly, I know it's not popular, and it is a political season, but I think what happens, there are some essential employees who have to come in, and they
Right.
are there every day, and they are not getting a bump up or additional pay for coming in and putting their families and their lives at additional risk for being out in these spaces during COVID and other things. And their counterparts, many of whom can't do their jobs unless they come in, are receiving full pay and compensation. And it's costing us dearly. The only thing right now that is potentially keeping us from spiraling very quickly was the federal money that came through from the CARES Act. And it is supplementing our budget right now, but that money will go away very quickly. As anybody who got money in their personal budgets, that was a quick blip on the financial screen, and most of us have already spent that stimulus and that money we got. Um, I think it's really important to recognize, and especially in our school district,
Mhm.
one thing that concerns me the most is that we have staff and faculty who are working other jobs while still receiving full compensation from the city and from the public school system. So they've gotten a pass in a sense, and there's some issues. There's no real accountability.
That's why we're gonna get to the schools in just a second, but we have a question that is coming in, Kim, and I want to get this question out here. Can you see it? Because on your screen, by the way, everybody, yes, Kim's screen is freezing a little bit, but she's still here. She's live, so I want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not putting up a picture or anything. She's here. Wait, Kim, so everybody know that you're
I'm
live. All right, let's look at this question. It says, "What do you plan on changing in the city? The drug infested areas, the children having no community centers, the Oak Grove Elementary School is still empty. How do you address Ms. Freeman's questions here?"
Well, I think that obviously, I have children have always been at the heart of all of the passion that I have for improving our city. They're our future. We have to clean up neighborhoods. We have children who have been home. I go into our public housing areas and other areas of the city. I see children who are just getting the sand out of their eyes at 2:30 in the afternoon, and their faces haven't been washed. They're wearing the same clothes they had on the last time I saw them. And I know
Wow.
um, it's there's a lot going on. There's a lot of mental illness happening as a result of us being um, cooped up in the house. We have got to allow for an outlet. I think there has to be a plan for um, immediate action to open up our community centers, and where they don't exist. And in the second district, there aren't any. Calhoun used to be in the second district. It got drawn out after my first term, but we need to activate those spaces and make them available. Our kids are not isolating. That's one thing I have observed in the community. They have to be around each other. They aren't isolating, but I think that we need to have some structured activities and engagement, and make sure that there are caring and responsible adults who are engaging with our young people, um, cleaning up those drug infested areas. It's if you have family members like I do who struggle with addiction, it can it can devastate families. It also invites crime, and to see children in our community put in situations where they're being shot. We see, you know, a news story, and we forget that many of these children are left with lifelong disabilities. So you might hear that they survived. And we hear, you know, we're not where we used to be. We had 160 murders back in the early 90s, but
Right.
because of medical innovation, because we have a trauma center and VCU medical facility in our medical facilities, people are being saved where they may not have lived, but they are left with lifelong injuries. And so I think we need to look at the number of shootings that are happening and people being shot as a comparison and indicator, as opposed to the number of murders per se that we were seeing in the past, because there are medical miracles happening where people who would not have survived an injury even 5 years ago are
Absolutely.
surviving those now. So I think the only way to break the cycle is sound, solid education for our children and not leaving them behind, giving them the opportunities that we all want for our own children. On school board, every decision I made for individual children, I put them in the frame of what I would want for my own child. And I think that that's the approach that we have to take with every individual in the city, and approach their problems as if they're your own problem or your own family.
Also, Ms. Freeman says not enough drug rehabilitation homes, no homes for returning citizens, and I'm sure she's referring to those that are have been incarcerated and are coming back into society. That we don't have enough programs to help them to become viable citizens, to become taxpayers. So, how do we right that wrong or right side that?
So I think that that's a problem that we are faced at the local level, not to be solely on the back of the locality. I think that looking to our state and federal government for solutions and for opportunities and grants is important. But being able to push projects through that make affordable housing available is a start. Not tying things up and not making it impossible for people. People don't always go into things because they're goodwill. They need to make money, and if I've got staff who can't start working, you know, many of these contractors and developers keep people on the payroll, and if they can't have them working, they are losing money every day, and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and or they have to make the hard decision to lay people off. So fixing what's broken in City Hall brings us closer to that. There are a lot of awesome nonprofits that have been very successful. OAR is one of my top nonprofits for our returning citizens. And I think making investments and entering into contracts to work to expand their services, we have to find what is going well and what is being done right and expand on those opportunities.
Now, you mentioned earlier that we have several schools that are under construction right now, and that one of them, from my understanding, even though it's a brand new school, it still will not serve the capacity. And that, again, we're trying to build these schools. We won't have the revenue that it's going to take to make sure those schools operate. How do we take care of our kids? How do we take care of our teachers with the deficit that we're facing, and then still not have enough room with the students that we have? We're still going to be back again having to enlarge schools.
So we have to make really difficult decisions, and I know school consolidations is not a popular thing to say, but the only way that we can get all of our students in a modern building and a very efficient and quick way. And I don't mean large classrooms. I mean larger buildings where we're not spending additional resources. The more students you have under a roof, the
Hmm.
less it costs per student to operate. And having so many buildings that are not at capacity, and then we have some that are at their seams and just bursting. We have to right size and balance that out and balance the resources. And it can be done. We can modernize all of our schools and bring it forward. It's not going to happen when we have school board that's dug in saying every single school that we have needs to be rebuilt. And that's just not that's that's not a feasible, logical way to get this done. And so many kids will be left behind with that model.
Now, Kim, we again, man, I told you we won't get through it, and I wasn't. I want to make sure that we did talk about the things that are important to the citizens of Richmond. There was a poll recently, and I know it's still early here, but uh, the poll has. I mean, it's real close. Let's be clear about that. There's only about a 5% difference between you and the incumbent right now. And it's not a popular race that you have to have five of the nine districts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, there's several districts that are still open, and I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between you and the current mayor? Because that's what the people want to know. How are they going to say, okay, should we keep this current mayor or should we vote for Kim? Let the people know why they should be voting for you, Kim, to replace what we have going on right now.
So I have dedicated my entire adult life to public service. I live here. I'm from here. I'm not looking for any future offices and those aspirations. I really have a heart for our city and improving what we have. I think we're the most exciting, um, greatest. We have the greatest potential of any locality in the region, and we are diverse. We are fabulous, and I am here to stay. I own my home. I've been in Jackson Ward for 30 years. My family dates back over 100 years in Jackson Ward.
Hmm.
Um, I am a mom. My children go to Richmond Public Schools. My younger ones, I have 5 adult children who all are RPS graduates. I'm an RPS graduate. So I'm dedicated, committed. You're going to see me in the grocery store. You'll see me around. I'm accessible, and I am you. I'm Richmond. I'm RVA. I am all of you, and I want to represent what we want as a city, and I want to bring everybody together to form a common vision and move us forward.
Kim, last question here. The morale of the city is low right now. How do you excite people and get them excited about Richmond again? You know, we got the all the recent murders. Of course, we have COVID. We have all of the things, the fallout from the riots, and so how do you propose to reignite the city and get everybody unified again? Because there's a lot of polarization going on right now. How do you reunite Richmond?
So I think we all want the same things at the end of the day. As Richmonders, if we have children, we want them to be better off in their adult lives than we are. We want them to have a good, sound education, and to be able to live. I know as a mom, I love that my children are independent and actually help me out and help support um, me with their younger siblings. So I think that we all have to find common ground. We all have to find hope and believe that we are going to get through this and be better for it. I
Mhm.
truly believe that. And there are, for the businesses, I am still waiting for the city to get the CARES Act funds out to offer that support and assistance. We have businesses falling by the wayside every day, filing bankruptcies, and every locality around us has issued CARES Act funds to support those businesses impacted by COVID-19. In Richmond, we're still waiting for those applications to even surface. So there are those ways that we can stimulate businesses and save jobs. But in the broader philosophical sense, I just think coming together, finding our common ground, forming a common vision, and moving forward with that vision is how we make Richmond the best it can be.
Great. I certainly appreciate you. And I'm going to give you the closing words here, especially when it comes to, Richmond and the 8th district, because we know that district is still wide open. What would you like to say to the 25,000 people that are in the 8th district to make you the next mayor of the great city of Richmond?
I love my 8th district. Reva might come after me for saying my 8th, but I spent a lot of my time and efforts in the 8th district and helping people where I can. And it's really important that we come together as a city. I think the 8th district has enormous potential and I'm sorry, has been neglected in many ways with respect to our budget. And I've supported Reva Trammell in getting capital projects in the budget and moving us forward with parks and other amenities. And I'll continue to support the 8th district. I'm so sorry, something is choking.
Well, you've been in the hot seat for about an hour now, so
I should have put some water here.
No, but seriously, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule tonight and being here with us. And I'm going to go ahead, and I know that you need to get you some water and everything, but that's all right. What I'm going to do is you guys need to go to Kim Gray's site if you want to know more about her, see more about her platform, and that's Kim Gray RVA. Is that correct?
Yes, you got it right. Kim
Yay!
RVA and Gray with an A.
All right. Kim, again, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to having more conversations with you. And I'm sure we're going to see you out in the community somewhere, right?
Absolutely. I'm in the community every day. I just ran in here from being out in the community. I'm all over. If anyone wants to reach out, they can give us a call, shoot us an email through the website. My number is 804-852-4427. If you want to host a party, and we're doing COVID-19 porch parties, so we're socially distancing and being responsible with that. We have guidelines, and I'm willing to come talk to any group, small or large, as long as we can responsibly do that and help keep the curve as flat as it can be.
There was another question that's going to go in. I'm going to email it to you, Ms. Freeman. I'll go ahead and email your question to Kim so she can get back with you on.
Or Lily, feel free to text or call me too.
Okay. Kim, thank you so much for being here. You have a fantastic Thursday evening.
For having me.
And give me your website one more time.
It's kimgrayrva.com, and it's GRAY, KIMGRAYRVA.com.
All right, Cap City. This is your boy Cruz, the Beast from the East, and you've been with me as we've had this very open and candid conversation with City Councilman Kim Gray, who is running for mayor of our great city. Again, thank you. This video will be out here on YouTube. So if you missed it, you were just trying to get in, it was raining, you were stopped at the train or whatever, you couldn't make it, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Cruz Inc. Radio 102.8 TV, and you can catch this entire broadcast. You can also go to our website, which is cruisingradio.com, and you can see it. Or you can just look at any of the Cruise Inc. Facebook pages. It's 12 of them out there, and you all will be able to catch Kim and everything that she had to say tonight. So appreciate you guys. You have a great one, and we'll see you the next time. Again, whatever comes from the heart reaches the heart. Let somebody know how much you care about them before it's too late. Love you guys. Take care.
Thank you.